Tape Deck Media.
Welcome to Hosstown. I'm Taylor Ruddle.
I'm Matt Lilley.
We are the mayors of Hosstown. Let's start the show. Welcome everyone to the first episode of Hosstown. My name is Taylor Ruddle.
I'm Matt Lilley.
And we are not really too sure what the podcast is going to be, but we thought we would just do a few episodes and see if people like it, see if there's a demand for it, and if so, then it might become like a proper podcast. But I think for now, we'll just post it on my feed and see how the people respond to it.
Yeah, we could post it on my feed, and my grandma might have some response for us. But yeah, that's about who was all on that one.
So we have 3 listeners all up there. If we combine our listenerships together, yeah,
exactly.
So let's people that have been listening to it on my podcast will already kind of know who I am. But do you want to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself? Because you've been on the podcast before, but it's been a little while. So.
Yeah, it has been. Oh yeah, I did the first one we did was when I tried to explain rugby to you, which I thought went fairly well. And then the second one was when me and you and Georgia West Cahill did the live podcast.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Well, that was that podcast that we did. Kind of is what started setting the gears turning in my head that maybe this could be a good 2-man sort of podcast.
Sorry, Georgia.
Not that she's the weak link or anything. I just figured there's not really anything like what we're trying to do with Hosstown out there. So
there's not many 2 straight white dudes trying to start a podcast.
Well, but here's the thing. Bear with me for a second. Yeah. It's like there are a lot of those, but they're not. They are more on the if you look at man as a sliding scale of let's use Hoss as the one end of the scale, and then I guess what is the dweeb, or you know what I mean?
Andy Dick.
Yeah, exactly. You're going between Andy Dick, and then on the other end you've got
Taylor Ruddle.
What? I was thinking more like John Favreau or that kind of scale, but do you know what I mean? They're usually a little bit more bookish kind of gentlemen. And
bookish. That's a real classic sort of way to describe a gentleman. I don't think anyone's ever called me bookish. It's just what do they mean by the term bookish? You're built like a book, you're just big square sort of frame.
Well, that was an interesting thing. I read a lot as a child, so my parents always used to say you've always got your nose in a book, but then with screens and stuff nowadays, I think they're beginning to miss the days when I used to just read and it wasn't 8 uninterrupted hours of screen time.
Yeah.
What were you like as a child?
I read a little bit. The newspaper. I remember that. Yeah, that was about it. Just the comics and the sports news, the back page. I was big on the back page. That was the other thing. Big sport kid. Big, that's where you get a lot of hosses in the sports world. That's, there's because I was a big one for me, especially early on, was rugby. Yeah. And I was front rower. Surprise, surprise. And that's almost in terms of sort of stereotypical hosses, you're going to find a lot of hosses that are prop in a scrum.
That's the prime hoss position.
Yeah, prime hoss position.
I guess let's get into it. You said we should probably explain what a hoss is. Yeah. So the term comes from, I believe, almost workhorse. And the dictionary definition of a hoss is something like a strong, dependable man. It's that's the kind of thing. But we all know that maybe the general hoss body type is a little huskier, a little cuddlier than your bookworm. And I don't know. I just kind of said it out. I said something about Hosstown, Hoss City. And I thought that's a great name. So here we are.
I think it started with that live podcast with Georgia when you told her she was in the middle of a Hoss sandwich.
a phrase which has been pointed out to me is kind of something inappropriate to say to someone.
Oh, yes. Right. Has it been... Okay.
Well,
sorry, Georgia, if you're watching.
I don't know. There's apparently a connotation there, which we don't want to air towards.
Yeah, we don't. We really don't.
Hence, Hosstown is the podcast
name. Hosstown, yes.
And me and Matt are the...
So we're not going to have a guest than call it a Hoss sandwich. Then, are we?
I think our HR person would advise against doing that. So hence Hosstown. So anyone that's a guest is maybe just a citizen of Hosstown.
Yeah, tourist, a Hoss tourist.
Yeah, that's great, fantastic. We'll have to get them like one of those "You're now leaving Hosstown" t-shirts. The merch game for this is going to be.
I visited Hosstown and
all I got
was this t-shirt.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The merch game of Hosstown is going to be off the chain.
2XL and up. By the way,
no such thing as an S size.
2XL is where we start, and it's kind of an open-ended scale. Like there's no upper limit to the Hoss, but like we're not sizist, but that's just there is a barrier. You know, it's like you got to be this tall to ride the ride. You got to be,
this wide.
Wide to fit through the town gates.
We only do restaurants and like buffet. There's no such thing as a non-buffet restaurant in Hosstown.
That's why you'll walk into a restaurant, you'll get seated, and you'll be like, oh, where's the food? And there's just a big trough at the front.
They just motion towards it, and then that's where it is.
No waiters and all.
That's an obsolete
you don't trust anybody else to touch your food.
Exactly. Us two collectively, I've been referring to us as the mayors of Hosstown, or I did. The one potential idea was the consuls. The Roman Empire had 2 consuls.
I was going to say, there's not many like double mayors.
No.
Down, unless like we split the town into like the South and the North district,
like when Berlin after the Second World War.
But that just seems like a hostile partnership. It's it's like this is just the meeting table where we come to resolve the Hoss disputes.
Like what is it? The demilitarized zone in North Korea. That's where we are right now. We're in a secret bunker. We come together to discuss policy once a month. And
rations. Not like, because I'm more a burgering guy, but, rations.
We're out of the gates of the fun already.
Yes.
I suppose we're going to have to eventually decide on the official chip for Hosstown. I'm not quite sure. Maybe we'll do like a poll or something. The audience
do a potato chip review. Yes, we'll get that on the TikTok.
That would be good. Yeah, we could do a tier list. I think that's the kitsch thing that the kids are doing.
Yeah.
So that, I think, broadly and also not entirely at all really explains what Hosstown is. We are, it's a democratic society. We are elected officials.
Actually, I don't know how I feel about democracy.
Well, what political system would you recommend?
Well, I feel like we should branch out and start a new one. Like, I feel
okay.
Well, it's... Like, if we're going to be true to the Hosstown name, shouldn't it be just the biggest Hoss rules?
Oh, that's actually that's fair. Yeah,
shouldn't it be like a meritocracy based on Hossness?
Just what stats would you measure? It would be probably beard, height, weight. You'd probably have some kind of like the primary. Just to find out if you can be a member of parliament would be like some kind of sumo system. You know what I mean? Like only the biggest and the strongest can get through that.
It's like we have like a Hoss Olympics where it's like you got to start off by like finishing like an old Spates crate bottle, and then you got to go and then do like 30 seconds of really explosive heavy bag work on punching because that's all you can handle. And then I don't know, and then you got to like go. Like give an old lady a cuddle because you got to show the gentler side, help an old lady cross the street because it's a noble thing being a Hoss.
You've touched on a good point there. That was the thing I wanted the theme of the podcast to be a sort of masculinity one, but not your typical sort of caveman. Sports beer and we do UFC ring. He's like, we wanted it to, like you say, the gentler side of being a man. So that's, you gotta, is it any grandmother or specifically your grandmother?
She's gotta, not everybody has their grandmother around, so you just gotta find, we gotta go for a hire a grandma sometimes. And then, so, it could get dangerous. Keep the...
Hide your grandmas.
Another shit. Hide your grandmas. The horses are coming.
Yeah. That sounds vaguely sinister.
We're just here to bring hugs, cups of teas, and help them cross the road. That's all we're trying to do.
We might have to. That could be a great special to do in the future. Is trying to be kind to people in public, whether they necessarily want your help or not. Because you're taller than I am, and so you've we talked about this in the 10 Tiny Joys. You're talking about being able to reach things for the top shelf for people. So that could be quite a fun event. You just deciding like, oh, this person looks like they need.
You know what? Another good time, like where it pays to be a helping hoss when something heavy needs to be lifted. Just like when someone's got to move, you're just like.
Are you always speed dial number 1 for when your buddies want to move house?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd say so. Like, I mean. It won't get done quickly, but it'll get done. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was very much on call for one friend for several years when he moved. It also helped that my father had a van, so that's you have dumb muscle and then a van, and that's basically we'd get it done in like 2 trips or something. So it's you do get called on a bit for that by your buddies.
If the podcast doesn't work out, we could just go for a Hosstown moving service.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Just get a little van with the logo on the side. The same logo.
Yeah, that's true. We'll just take away I'll just write over podcast and write moving.
Furniture moving.
We would have seen, if the people are watching this now, then they would have seen the animation that I did. I got that commissioned by an artist, and that's come out quite good. I'm quite happy with the branding on this. So hope the listeners are enjoying it now, watching it on probably YouTube, maybe?
YouTube, if it's not been taken down.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
A young upstart website.
Yeah. That'll never be around in 5 years. I guess we could get on to one of the main topics we were going to talk about today, which was relating to our fathers.
Out in heaven.
Not that kind of father. The topic I thought would be interesting for a first episode of the podcast, dear listener, citizens of Hosstown, would be the classic conundrum of could you defeat your father in a fight if you had to? Because I think they always say there comes a time in every dad's life when his son is now too big for him to not push around, because it makes it sound like he's a bully, but when he goes to throw that punch and the kid blocks it for the first time, I imagine there's a long moment where the dad realizes the bell is tolling for thee, and his days are numbered. Not his days are numbered, but his size and strength advantage is no longer a thing anymore. And
it doesn't necessarily even have to be a fight. It can just be like when your son showed us, almost got the better of you, or did get the better of you. Whether it's like a physical thing or not, it's just like, damn, it looks like I'm going to have to keep an eye on you.
You feel that he suddenly feels that, what is the expression? He's snapping at his heels. Because, like you say, you're thinking in terms of wit as well.
I never had that with my father, but no, I was meaning, more like, say if because not everybody has like a big macho physical dad who's ever going to want to fight his kids. Maybe it's just he had that chess move that you never thought of, and he beats he gets him there, or he sings a note that he could never hit. Something like that.
I was definitely had the edge on my dad in video games. I don't think. Oh, he does play a little bit. He plays the those card ones like Solitaire and stuff like that on on the PC. I tried to teach him Magic the Gathering once, but that did not. He just watched me play through a turn, and then I was like, "Did you get that?" He's like, "No." So we're back to square one on that.
I mean, I say this, and I did fight my dad a lot. So. For my dad, it was when I beat him in a fight, which may have been, some point in the teenage years. Yeah.
So the way I thought we could break down the whole idea of could you defeat your dad in single combat is we could look at it. I thought it'd be interesting to go back to different ages, and if you were the same age. If you and your dad were the same age at this point in your life, could you win? So, we could sort of go through. How old's your father now?
He's 56.
Oh, so your dad's quite a bit younger than mine. My dad just turned 70 this year.
Right, so. So you better be able to beat him up, is what he's saying.
Well, right now, I think I've got his number, because he's got a knee injury at the moment, so he's on low HP. All I have to do is target the knee and
sweep the leg.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it could be interesting to go back to I guess we should start from maybe I don't know, 10 years old is maybe a little bit young because
I thought we were going to start at like 5.
in kindergarten, could you take him?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think at that age, it's more or less random.
I would be killed. He grew up on a farm. I was, pampered in the city life, and he was having to fend for himself. I don't know if that was my farm or the grandparents, but he was out there just doing everything. So
my father had a similar, not exactly farm from a young age, but definitely like he was a legit cowboy at one point in his life. So like, it is funny how that seems to be the qualifier as for toughness, is like growing up on a farm. And you do have to wonder, what does it say about farm life that it produces like...
Well, it's because it started, that you had children if you lived on a farm for the extra labor.
Yeah, that's right.
It's, you weren't like thinking, oh, I want to show someone the right way of the world and pass on my knowledge. You're like, no, these cows need to be milked.
And you had to have like 7 because the frost would take 3 come winter and all that. Not an easy life, I suppose. But so going back to like, I guess 10 years old, but again, even 10 years old, like, you don't, like, children are just kind of like, I guess, are farm kids tougher than city kids? I guess they would be at that age.
Yeah, because they're probably wrestling sheep and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Riding around on quad bikes and other kind of physical. Yeah, good point. I didn't really get outside until I was... Especially
this generation, I tell you, kids these days.
We'll get on to... Do you think you could defeat your son in combat, like, towards the end of this, I guess? But... so like 20s is so you reckon in your 10 years old your dad's got it easily. I'm probably the same as you. So let me go forward to 20s. What was your sort of dad and yours combat ability at, like, let's say 22?
22 very interesting fight. We wouldn't be in the same weight class, I'll put it that way. Like, he was
got the edge there.
My dad was, he was quite a bit of a runner.
Yeah.
I retired from my running career at like 16.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was doing a little bit of powerlifting at the time. I was, played rugby. I was, so it would have been a real, like, he would have had to use the footwork and the volume and just try and stay on the outside. It would have been one of those kind of...
He would have had to like Mayweather you.
Yeah, he would have had to Mayweather.
Went on a points decision.
Yeah, exactly. But if if he gets out of the first round, like, it's one of those fights, like, at the start of the fight, I probably would have been the PB favourite. But if we get out of the first round, the betting just swings onto him. So
his stamina like rapidly decreases.
It's like, it's... Imagine, like, with Street Fighter, I would be... What was that big, like... Just a big blob sort of character that kind of looked like he had muscles, but they were just so circular.
Probably the sumo guy. Was it the sumo? E Honda?
E Honda, yeah. It'd be like him going up against just, like... The samurai guy, just like
Ryu,
yeah. See, like, you can tell who actually played Street Fighter.
The one area I might have the edge in terms of like knowledge, but
What about you and your dad?
So I believe when my dad was in his 20s, this was in his cowboy era. Any Swifties out there? He was in his cowboy era, and
the same Texas. Sorry,
that's how we get on. That's where we get on the algorithm. We'll get a copyright strike.
I hate that song.
I'm not a big fan of it either. I'm sure I'm not the target audience for it. So and
I'm sure my voice could, like, the chickers are going to think, oh, that's Beyonce's voice. Let's strip that straight from me. Yeah.
That's a dead ringer for Beyonce.
Exactly. Yeah.
My dad would have fully been in his cowboy era at this point, and I think it depends on how early in my 20s, because I did Muay Thai kickboxing from like 20, maybe like 22 to like 24. So like it'd be I reckon of all the stages of our life, that'd be the best fight for your money's. Do you know what I mean? That would be like it might win fight of the night kind of thing if you were to watch all of them together, because like you say, he would have had that farm strength, but I actually knew how to fight, so it would have been like, if I could I guess it depends as well. You have to think about your mental state going to this, like, how angry are you at your dad?
Yeah, how many holes have you punched in the wall beforehand?
Because, like, I think if I could fight smart, it would just be like the classic Muay Thai thing of, like, kick the leg until he can't stand on it anymore, and then, go for the knockout or whatever. But when you're young and don't really know how to, like, I knew how to throw the punches and kicks, but like I'd never really been in a fight before. And what did Mike Tyson used to say? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Like, I think had my rage just taken over and I just went in like swinging, it would have been pretty even. Like, it would have just been whoever could get that lucky hit on. Like, I don't know, do you have much of a chin on you in terms of like taking punches?
Well, I've only really taken one proper punch in my life, and it didn't knock me out, but it knocked me down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that an interesting story of all?
Well, I was working as a bouncer at the time. Another industry full of hosses.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of hosses.
the bouncer industry would be like
nightclub security. Yeah, one of our greatest financial benefactors are the nightclub security industry.
We've got like the safest nightclubs in the county.
Yeah. Oh yes. No one's coming in intoxicated. No. But no, basically, yeah, some guy, another hoss, probably taller than me hoss.
Oh wow.
Was quite drunk, and I was standing on the door. Told him, he was swaying. Basically, told him, "No, mate, you're not coming in tonight." And he didn't like that, and he just started swinging.
Jeez.
And then I dodged the first couple, and then my other bouncer that was it was about the same size as me, jumped on him, tried to wrestle him to the ground. This guy who was just Super Saiyan hoss just threw him, and then as I was coming, caught me on the side of the head.
Wow.
And then about 10 people came out from the smokers area in the bar and basically jumped on him, and then then he eventually left.
How recently was that?
Oh, this was probably about 5-6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you do? Did you bounce for long?
I bounced long and far. No, I was probably about 3 years. When I was at uni, it was my main sort of part-time job.
Because I'm currently, I was looking at just picking up bits and pieces of temp work at the moment, and I did think about I wonder if that's worth looking into the whole security thing. But then when people tell stories like that of people just swinging on you out of nowhere, you definitely look at it like, I kind of like having teeth,
Yeah. I mean, it was fun, but it's nice not going to work and not being fearful of your physical safety.
Yeah, not literally a day you go to work where you think someone might take a swing at me today. That's I can imagine. That causes a lot of stress, and then also you have to be up from midnight till 6 a.m. sometimes, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so chin's not bad from that, because I feel like it was a decent punch. I had a big welt on my head the next day.
Yeah, did he catch you on the sort of in the side of the head?
Yeah, kind of just in front of the ear, so not quite the temple, because then he probably would have knocked me out. It was kind of just here.
I wonder if he did any damage to his hand, because I think the forehead is definitely one of the hardest parts of our head.
Well, yeah, in fights they tell you if a lot of fighters, if they punch the top of the head, they'll break their hand. Yeah. Sometimes the defense is if you see a punch coming, you duck down,
drop your head down.
You're there. Yeah,
so. It's I think the thing you want to aim for is the jaw. That seems to be the off button for humans.
Yeah, jaw and sort of around the ear, because you kind of get someone on the back of the ear, you can just knock off their equilibrium and they can't stand anyway.
This is curriculum in Hosstown Elementary. It's where to punch someone to knock them out.
Well, that was one of the cool things about it, because my old boss is a bouncer. He was a big mixed martial arts guy.
Yeah,
I can't even know, some obscure Japanese martial arts, and he'd put us through a weekly self-defense training, and it was all it was a lot of it was good. It was wrist holds and how to grab somebody and how to subdue them without having to hit them, because then the law doesn't like that. Yeah,
because you get in trouble for that.
Yeah. You're not allowed to hit with a closed fist or anything like that. If you can't if they start the physical altercation, you're allowed to match their force, but you can't exceed it. So, yeah.
I remember I used to take judo, and we were doing knife disarms, which, I think in hindsight, not a smart thing to teach high schoolers, because, I think it's very hard to do to properly disarm someone with a knife, and it also, you never have, when they teach you, it's always just one really clean stab, and you, sort of shimmy out of the way and grab their arm, and but I think in real life people come at you and it's just the knife is everywhere, and you don't exactly have that nice clean to your waist kind of incoming stab you can catch. But I remember we did this knife disarm, and I got the knife off the person, and then as he was sort of turning back around, I just went like that. As if I just cut his throat, and the teacher stops me and he goes, whoa, hang on. So it's that eyes of the law thing. He's if you he's like, if you get the knife off him and then you now attack him, it's like, that's you. You're like trying to murder him now, and like you'll get in trouble. So he's like, he genuinely said the way you got to do it is like, when you get the knife, if it happens to go into the guy, like as you're wrestling away from him or whatever, it's like, oh, that was just accidental. You know, even if you do it on purpose, it's like in the eyes of the law, that's like, it was just accidental. Because he's like, you never know who's watching. This is such a wild thing for martial arts instructor.
You never know who's watching, and you don't know when they showed up, so they might not know the other guy started it. They might be like, oh, that person stabbed them, and
I've definitely seen fights. Someone start a fight and then start losing, and then people that turn up late thought that the person that's getting their ass kicked was the one who was like the victim or whatever, and then try and break it up, whatever. So, but
listen to the story. If someone pulls a knife, run.
Yeah,
which as a hoss is a problem. Yeah. So you kind of do need a bit of a. You need to learn how to disarm people.
The gyms wouldn't have any cardio equipment there.
No treadmills. just like
a Stairmaster at best.
And then like 6 pairs of dumbbells that you can do like sets of 3 reps each of, just to be like, and then get up and be like, I still got it.
Flex in the mirror.
I could still, I still go. I could still
like
prop the first attempt.
Absolutely straining every, like, just to see like your tricep definition or whatever.
Yeah. And then you let your breath out and then just,
you do that side on turn to like, So we got a little off topic there, but there was a good tangent to go on the old martial arts one. So 20s. I reckon I'd probably, if I can keep a cool head, I would probably beat my dad.
I just imagine you just clipping that one sentence. Just back on topic. I'll beat my dad. But What about like right now?
Like if my dad was the same age as me.
Same age as you right now.
Man, it's an even fight, eh?
Even fight.
My father, as he got older, the jobs he did got more and more sedentary, and like likewise here, I've gotten more sedentary. So, like, that would, you know how the heavyweight fights in the UFC, if they go past the first round, it's usually just a couple of big tired boys. Like, you know, neither of them get knocked out because neither of them have the strength to, like, really hit those big ones. So, like, I think it would be pretty, it'd be a pretty boring fight. And then, but I'm trying to think, because my dad's had such bad luck with injuries. So, like, I'm trying to think what injuries he had, because he's had, like, his, he had like a knee thing, a hip thing, and a back thing at different parts.
Right.
And, I suspect maybe that's why he's slowed down in terms of like what he was doing for work, because like if you've got back issues or whatever, kind of the last thing you want to be doing is like hard labor.
Yeah.
I reckon that's a coin toss. It's whoever can exploit the other ones. I mean, I've got sort of injury, like I've never had good knees, anything like that. So it's whoever's joints give out first is probably the loser in that fight, I reckon. What about you if your dad was now?
Probably similar. Like, we both would have slowed down a little bit. At my age, he was, I think he was young father of 2 kids, working as a truck driver, just work.
My dad was a truck driver as well, so that's,
right. Yeah, but like I think he still ran, so he's still kind of active. But I do know around my age, he did break his arm really badly. Yeah. Because he was still playing rugby up until that point.
Oh, wow.
So he's still playing, rugby, and then the arm, I think, was what made him have to retire, because it was a real bad, he fell out of the truck. Yeah. And just, I think he really did it badly. So I think it depends on what time of the day I get him.
Yeah.
If it's like 6 p.m. and he's worked a 13-hour shift.
he walks up to the front door and then he just goes to put the key in, and then he just hears footsteps behind him. Like you're the Terminator walking up to him.
But if it's 6:30 a.m. and he's like been up for an hour and I'm just like, rolling out of bed after 4 hours sleep after staying up too late after a gig, he's got
the edge on you.
He's got the edge on me there. So like it's got to be a tactical thing.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe on a Saturday afternoon after he's had a rugby game,
that would be the peak time to strike.
Yeah.
the whole because like this is big area where we differ, but I think this is kind of why it's interesting for the podcast, is because like I've never been a weekend warrior for the rugby or anything, but you played rugby with clubs.
Yeah, for only a few years after school, probably until I was about 21. It's an interesting. The problem I had with it is like you play like rugby wasn't that fun. and it hurt a lot.
Well, so this is touching on something. I was kind of curious to ask you about this because I've worked with many a weekend warrior, and like they come into work on Monday and they'll be like limping, or the arms in a sling, or they've got a big lump on the head from a head colliding or something. Yeah. And I just thought, like, man, you've got to really love that game to put yourself through that kind of punishment for like just like a local club that you're not getting paid for or anything. Yeah. And, so I can imagine, if you're not enjoying the game that much, like, do you? Because you kind of did cricket as well. Do you enjoy playing cricket? Or is
cricket? Well, cricket I stopped playing when I was in high school. Cricket is a different thing. It's a different kind of torture. It's more of a psychological torture.
Because it's long.
It's long. Like I've got like flatmates that play cricket, and then like they'll come home after like a bad game on a Saturday and just like throw their bag on the couch and be like, another fucking wasted Saturday.
Well, because you've got 8 hours to. Yeah. It's like when you're playing chess. You know how sometimes the chess masters know within the first, like once the opening phase is complete, they know who's going to win, but you still have to kind of play it out and in the hopes that your opponent makes a mistake. And these games are like great. Like, so how long does a cricket game go for?
Sometimes it's like 7-8 hours a day. And then like say if you're like a batter and then you get out like after like 5 minutes of batting, that's your piece done. Now you're basically just gonna go. You gotta go sit and wait for your team to finish batting, and then you're gonna stand in the field out in the sun just chasing the ball while the other team gets to bat. So it's
there was the one thing that I always as a child, because like I've had to play these sports and like not necessarily by choice or because they were like, look at this guy, he's a prodigy, we need him on the team. Cricket always seemed to me like when you're batting, it's heaps of fun because you get to hit. It's almost like you're the main character. Like there's one batter or two batters, isn't there? Yeah. And you've got your buddy, and you're hitting the ball and running, you're running between the things. Yeah. And then when you're fielding, it's like you just stood in the field. Yeah, like hoping the ball comes.
And you got to be ready too, because like the ball might come to you once like every 10 balls, if you're lucky. Yeah, and then so like the other 9, you're just like ready, and then it's like, and so if you slack off, it'll get hit towards you, and then you'll be, let it go over the boundary or something. And it's like, what are you doing?
The thing I was always curious about with I've heard there's an immense amount of strategy with like wearing out the ball in cricket.
The strategy if you're Australian is sandpaper.
They sandpaper the ball.
Yeah, this was a famous, like, not even that long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh my god!
Where like it was honestly like the captain had to stand out, like Steve Smith, who's like was the Aussie captain, who's like one of the best players of this generation. Yeah, he was the captain. He's back in the team. He was suspended for like a year, but he's not allowed to be captain anymore. But basically, they like him and the vice captain David Warner, who was basically pressured a young player to basically take sandpaper with him on the field, and then like. Because after the ball's bowled, it goes to the wicketkeeper, and then they kind of pass it around some of the fielders to get back to the bowler at the other end. He'd be one of the guys they'd pass it to, and they'd have like a little square piece of sandpaper on it, and then just rough up one side. Wow. Because if you rough up one side, it'll swing. So
it flies weird, eh?
Well, yeah, it'll be like, it's kind of like, it'll put a curve on it, which makes it,
I understand it's a problem with baseball as well. They're like, yes. You have, you see this great...
it's like stickum. They'll put stickum on their hands.
Compilations of dudes being like, running their hands through their hair or something, and then like on the ball, and they've got like grease or something on the ball. And that's mad to me that like it's almost like this cat and mouse game between the refs and the players. Like, like evidently it's still worth getting caught doing because people still try to do it. But the thing with the cricket ball, the other thing that I don't know a lot about, but the pitch gets like cracked and you can like aim for the cracks to make them like, I don't know, the ball fly weird or something. Correct?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like, if it's quite dry, because like, you think about it, ball pits a crack, it can go anywhere. Yeah, that doesn't know where it's going. But it's we could turn this into a cricket podcast.
We could very quickly. I mean, we still got some time left. We could do a sport.
Yeah, well, there are quite a few hosses in the cricket.
There've been a lot of cricket pitches in Hosstown.
The cricket pitches, but like very small fids. So like
not a lot of running.
Not a lot of running. Like it'll be like.
Are they like baseball fields? And they're like, do you know? There's no. What do you call it? Like
standard.
Baseball diamonds are all different.
Yeah, cricket fields are the same.
Are they really?
Well, and then the famous one is Eden Park in Auckland because it's a rugby field. Right. So they'll play basically because like they changed it for like the World Cup that was here. Yeah. And made like bigger, straighter stands. So it's basically they play like sideways on a rugby field. Right. So like the boundary's straight. It's like short as anything, and then it's really long out the side. So like, yeah, it's just bizarre.
That's so funny that like you can have these, like literally the most highest level of cricket, and it's like, we'll just use the rugby thing when they're not using it. Like, it's the most Kiwi attitude I've ever heard of. So does that means it's easier to hit it to get, because if you get it over the boundary, you get 3 points, six points, and then what is it when you smash it out of the? Is it 12?
Well, so six is if you get it over the boundary on the full. 4 is if it goes on the ground.
That's right. Yeah. So in that park, is it quite easy to?
Yeah, you get a lot of high scores, but yeah, and then you get the opposite, like the Melbourne cricket ground, like is one of the biggest cricket stadiums in the world. It's huge, and so it's like but then like you're in the stands and like they're ants because you're so far away.
Oh, so you can't even really see it.
Yeah.
So they have like monitors for you to watch.
Yeah.
There was like, I went to I've been to live wrestling before, and sometimes it's worse than watching it on TV, depending on how far back you are and if they have like a good monitor and stuff. But the whole we could almost do a whole nother podcast on how sporting games have been like some of the most advancements in television technology, because they're trying to capture, like, there was some camera that it was like the XFL, which I think is real again. It was
the Rock owns it now. It's called the UFL actually.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because they combined with another one, the United Football League.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So like that, I remember reading somewhere years ago that even though the league was considered a flop, they pioneered this like cable system for the cameras that the NFL just bought, and were like, yep, cool, like that's how we film it now. And like,
well, it was basically like a drone type of camera that was just on cables in the stadium that would be able to fly over. Yeah, because they did that again, because I think they announced, just because I'm a big NFL guy, they announced just like a couple of weeks ago that they're changing like the kickoff rules.
Right. How so?
Basically, instead, because it used to be like kind of like a rugby kickoff where the team kicking off would kick it as far as they could to person catching, and then there'd be a whole bunch of people on the receiving team blocking, a whole bunch of people on the kicking team chasing. They'd smash into each other, blocking and trying to get the guy to tackle. Yeah. And and the reason it changed is because there'd be so many like big collisions with guys running 50 meters from each other and full steam. Yeah. So this one, they basically have each team, the kicking team, all of their like tacklers lining up, and then 10 yards away the receiving team blockers, and then you got the kicker back here and the receiver back there.
So they don't get as much of a run up anymore.
Yeah, they don't get as much as a run up.
Was that like when you'd have knights charging or whatever, they got time to build up speed and like crash into each other?
So now they're only like charging, and like still this guy might get smashed if he runs in and gets tackled, but like these guys, at least they're just more trying to. It's like more of it becomes a little bit more like an actual, like a scrum where you're pushing instead of just
more technical.
Yeah, more tactical.
Just put your head down and run kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like the other thing that the XFL did, and I remember this caused more injuries than anything else, was they, to decide who gets the ball first, they would have one player from each team basically run for it, and like whoever grabbed the ball got it, and like one guy like immediately like blew his knee out or something in that, and like that one there, I guess because you're pushing yourself as hard as you can to get the ball first, like. They had more injuries than anything else. I mean, I read that somewhere. I don't remember if it was accurate or not, but I remember it caused a lot of injuries just doing that. The crashing into each other thing is interesting because do you ever watch sumo?
Not really. I'm aware of it. But
I quite enjoy watching a bit of sumo every now and then. But when they do their like initial charge into each other, I think they're trying to hit each other with their chests, but because, you're both flying at each other as hard as you can, heads clash all the time, and dudes get these big melons on their head and stuff from getting crashing into heads, and there's all sorts of CTE and stuff like that. But I think they haven't been willing to do what the NFL did and change it up, because sumo is like really hell-bent on tradition.
Right.
Like they still have all these rules, like women aren't allowed to touch the dohyo or the ring, and they still like feed the ring like sake or alcohol. They do like a ceremony, and it's still like hella tradition, and they haven't yet changed the rules for the health of the sumo wrestlers, but I don't know. I guess it's good that the NFL will, because if you think about head injuries, the difference between now and when we were kids is to like the knowledge on head injuries is massive.
Yeah. I imagine it used to just be like, oh, Uncle Jim's just angry all the time. We don't know why.
The mood swings.
Yeah, it's because he played rugby for 20 years and bashed his head in all the time. But that does, like, I get why the whole sumo thing doesn't want to change their rules, because, like, rugby and American football, they're changing a lot of the rules and, like, making a lot of things that weren't penalties, and, like, especially in rugby, making things like yellow cards and red cards. They're just, like, accidental sort of touching someone's head, which really, you know, in, like, your yellow card that sent your man down for 10 minutes, it really just changes the game, and that's,
So people reckon that's the pendulum has swung a little bit too much.
Well, it's more just they're trying to combat it by, like, punishing the players for doing it, where it's like, you know, that's, to really change it, you got to, like, change how you teach it from the kids up. And, like, because, well, you know, it's all technique, you know, everybody that starts from like 7 or 8. Yeah, it used to be back then, you know, just, I remember playing with kids and they'd be like, oh, yeah, I like to lead with my head because it's the hardest point. You know.
Well, that was allegedly, that was the big difference between rugby players and football players, is, like, because we don't have a helmet on, you kind of had to, like, get your head out of the way when you tackle someone, but then football players, I think the typical thing was just put your head down and fly at them, and they used to refer to it as, like, trading paint with the other team when you'd get a stripe of the other team's colour on your helmet.
Yes.
But what was I going to say? I remember there was a big thing when I was a kid. I didn't really understand what it was, but it was the whole head-high tackle thing. Like, you have to tackle someone in rugby, like, how does it, like, below their waist or something?
No, so they haven't slowly changed. It was below. It used to just be below the neck, and then when I was playing, they changed it to below the nipples. Which I find a funny rule, because you have a rule around nipples.
You've got to keep an eye on your opponent.
Yeah, you got to really keep an eye. Like, everybody lines up and does a nipple check at the start of the game.
Really?
No, they don't.
You've just got to estimate, like, he looks like he's got low ones.
Where are your nipples, sir? And just and then good game. Have a good game out there.
It's so it's such a funny specific.
The referee comes along and just puts a little nipple line on.
Put a line on the that would help, wouldn't it?
But and then and then it's a penalty if it's anything neck or above.
Right.
Yes, talking about rugby again, guys.
Well, I suspect the people watching this are going to be at least vaguely interested in, like, you know, typical sort of, like, man stuff, but you know, like we say, it's important to be gentle, to be a hoss as well. So there'll be other episodes.
Taylor is a gentle hoss.
It's like, is it like a gentleman kind of thing?
Gentle hoss, yeah. The gentle hoss, and we just got, you know, like the bowler hats and then just tuxedos. Yeah.
And
it's like a spoof of the gentleman.
The Guy Ritchie thing,
yeah, it's just a white.
Well, we're basically coming up on 43 minutes now, so I don't know. We've delved quite. I don't think there's any, like, the fights with our dad is not going to get any more interesting as we get older.
Yeah, unless we actually bring them in here and
find out.
Yeah. My dad's probably going to listen to this, so like, he'll probably react to me talking about fighting him. By then, next time around for dinner, he's going to challenge me to a fight.
He's just, like, curling at the table. Like, how was your week, man?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, he'll be like, man, I need to talk to you outside. Yeah. And I'll be like, so I might be able to report back on the second episode how I would go in a fight with my dad today. I should beat him, but, like, he's planning it.
You go outside and he's just got, like, a boxing ring built in the backyard.
Yeah.
But I think comes to the whole idea of, like,
you would hope that your son does better than you in many things, right? Because I think we were talking about this backstage the other day. Is like you would want your son to be able to beat you in a fight, because it means, like, your genes are getting stronger or whatever, right? Like your bloodline, to borrow a wrestling thing.
Yes, very topical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well done, Cody.
Spoilers.
Yeah,
I mean, this will probably come out in a week or two, but
it's going to be about a month, I think. It'll be old news at that point. But I guess to not use up too much more of the listeners' time. Have you got any projects that are coming up within the next month, so that we can plug this? That we can plug.
So May. What am I? I don't know. I think my brother's birthday's in May.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Don't come, that'll be weird. He won't appreciate that.
Selling tickets to it. Yeah. I think by the time this drops, I won't have filmed it yet. So on the 4th of May, which I think is Star Wars Day, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Unintentional, but you know how it is. I am filming Rudzilla, a comedy special, which is going to be... It's all my jokes from 2019. I wrote the special about my 3 years living in Japan, and I figured this year I need to stop going on about it. So I'm sort of running a lot of the material now. I'm gonna record that, and it'll be released on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, then you're in the right place. But if it hasn't been filmed yet and you want to get tickets, go to taylorruddle.com/Rudzilla, and that will sort you out for that. But otherwise, how can the people find you? Do you have a Facebook?
Yeah, Matt Lilley Comedian, or Matt Lilley 9 on Instagram. A little more active on the Instagram, so...
Yeah, I'm so sick of Facebook.
Yeah.
It's getting worse and worse. Mm-hmm. We'll chuck... I imagine you're probably looking along the bottom of the screen. I'll chuck our details and stuff along the bottom of that. I think the one I want the listener to follow me most on is TikTok at the moment. I'm posting clips about 3 times a week. Are you shaking your head? Now, believe me, I'm with you on this one. But
not many horses on TikTok.
No, I need to start using the hashtag hoss on that.
Yeah. Find the hoss TikToks, the hoss docs.
We had a brief renaissance when there was a song called Big Boy, and that was like, I should have struck while the anvil was hot there.
Yes, my Tinder popped off that way.
You were like the trophy husband kind of thing. They would invite you out just to for you to be seen on their
I was just streaming SZA's album as a thank you.
So, follow me on TikTok, Taylor Ruddle Comedy. Believe me, I'm with you, but the thing is, you post stuff to Instagram, and Instagram's a little better, but like Facebook and Instagram just feels like I'm shouting into the void. Like it's my friends and stuff will comment on it, but I don't seem to be getting anywhere with it. So another reason we wanted to do this, to have a video podcast to make some clips of. I think we got some laughs in that episode, so hopefully some short form video content. So let's wrap it up. Thanks for joining me, my fellow mayor.
Thank you.
And check back next month for another episode of Hosstown.
Thanks for listening to Hosstown. Don't forget to share the episode and leave a review on your favourite podcatcher. See you next month. We'll see you then.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.